Cafe Chronicles. Tonight we have Keith Dessinger coming live from Tennessee. Where are you at in Tennessee tonight?
Memphis, about a couple miles from the King's house.
Oh yeah,
Elvis.
Elvis Aaron.
Yeah, I'm just a short walk down to Beale Street,
Oh
and
nice.
BB King's house, and
Yeah,
Sun Records, and it's kind of nice.
yeah. I bought a guitar down there at the Gibson factory. I don't think it's there anymore.
No, it's not there anymore. It was one of
Yeah,
the first places I went to go, and and they had just closed.
yeah.
It
I
was
bought a Gibson Genesis
really,
down there. Yeah, years and years ago. Wow,
huh?
it's a great town. It's a great town.
Yeah, I think it just closed. I was down here in 2017. I think it just shut down, like
Yeah.
so maybe 2016 or right around there.
Okay. Okay.
But yeah, I was really bummed out. I'd like planned my day around going to visit it, and got there and
It's bad.
scratch.
You're gonna spend a lot of money. Yeah.
It
So
is
yeah. So okay, Cafe Chronicles. We're here.
Cafe Chronicles with Ted
Okay,
Nagy.
I'm over here at the Aretha's Jazz Cafe inside of Music Hall, Center for the Performing Arts in Detroit. What we do here at the beginning, we're gonna, if you have a memorable moment, something that's happened to you at the cafe, maybe a performance you've seen or something where you performed that comes to mind. If that you want to, just
Okay.
recall.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of. I've been there a bunch of times. Thanks to your
Mm,
gracious invites.
sure.
Um, and I've been exposed to things new music and artistic concepts I wouldn't regularly attend, like the poetry jam, which I didn't know what to expect, but when I got down there, and it was amazing. It was like kind of like, all right, this is fun. And the venue itself is just gorgeous, and it feels like you're like the living room in an old mansion. So like you're just kind of at ease as soon as you sit down in the place. It's really nice and warm looking inside. The sound's amazing. Um, but yeah, it reminds me of a story. My dad and my mom used to go down to the Players Club, which I have ironically never been inside. But during when they were younger, they went to, or when we were younger, I'm sorry, they went to the Players Club, and my dad would play in a ragtime band playing Scott Joplin songs, and my mom would sing jazz songs. I never got to witness it,
Yeah.
unfortunately,
Where
but
was the
I got
Players
to
Club?
hear the practice. What's that?
Where was the Players Club, or is it
Players
still
Club
around?
is on your way down to Aretha's Jazz, but more closer to Indian Village, kind of in between you and Indian Village. It's right on Jefferson, a real old looking building.
Okay, I know what you're talking about. Yeah. Is this
Yeah,
still around? I mean, is it still
yeah, oh yeah,
kicking? Yeah.
still active. That's
Okay.
still alive and kicking. I think it's more of an actor's theater now.
All right.
Like it's more for putting on plays. But I don't know. I haven't been there.
Right,
Never
right,
actually
right.
walked inside the place. Um, um, but your place makes me feel like what it would look inside. So I almost don't want to walk into it right now because it's kind of a nice memory for it as it
Yeah.
stands presently. But I went down there for that. I've seen some jazz shows. Who was the one misfit we saw? The Orange. There's a three-piece with a sax and a guitarist. Ferrer Shaka, Ferrer Shaka.
Yeah.
Yeah, you might not remember him, but he was awesome. He was an old blues player, probably from Memphis or that area around. And
Oh,
I went,
James Blood Ulmer.
yeah, Blood
Yeah.
Orange.
Oh,
I wanted
yeah.
to say Blood
Legend.
Orange, but
Yeah.
yeah, James Blood
James.
Orange. Like that was amazing. I mean,
Yeah.
that was
Oh,
that was one of the best things
absolutely.
I've heard, and like a full display of how capable the sound is down there. Because I mean, the sound was amazing. We were right up front in front of the stage. It was amazing there. I walked around. It was amazing in the back of the club. It was
Yeah.
amazing upstairs when you walked upstairs. So it really, it's a great venue to play at. But yeah, that's where I kind of started my musical journey with my dad playing Scott Joplin. Like the ragtime from like, oh gosh, what's that Pool Hustler movie?
Color of Money, or
What's that?
Color of
No,
Money,
it's the early one with Paul Newman and
or The Hustler.
yeah, The Hustler.
Yeah.
So that theme runs throughout the movie.
Yeah.
And my dad was just playing it upstairs, and I'd be down in the workshop below, and just kind of listening to it. And at one point, I'm like, well, I'm going to learn to play it because I'd taken some piano lessons by then, and kind of knew how to read music. I couldn't play it to save my life. And then I started playing like some Bach fugues, and I'm like, okay, I'll try it again. That I could play. I still to this day can't play anything by Joplin, even though it seems kind of simple, like simple bass and like
Yeah.
like a repetitive right hand, and nope. So yeah, and then my mom kind of was a guiding force in teaching me how to sing and all that. But I didn't start writing until I was in my 30s or so, and that's when I sat down and wrote songs. And I guess I thought in my mind that it'd be nice to talk about how I'm now using AI and ChatGPT to kind of go back and take a look at those songs. And
What do you mean go back and look at them through Chat
well,
GPT? How do you do
we
that?
never. I have terrible handwriting, so I never used to write down my lyrics. I just memorize
Okay.
them. And I use so many double entendres and so much wordplay. Like I'll introduce several words in a song that mean five different things. I do that on purpose because I want to engage an audience. So I want to like cast a broad net. So I use words that you can interpret. You bring your own head to the party at that point. If I can, kind of reel you in from there, like you might think the word means something, but it doesn't. It
Okay.
never does. um, for instance, in the song we've played together out, DC Groove, or as I like to call it, the continuing story of a girl named Anger. I
Okay.
use the feminine to bring emotions and seduction into the feeling of anger.
Yeah. You
Like
sent me
how,
the
like,
lyrics, right? These are the
yeah.
lyrics you sent. Okay.
And so I'm talking about anger, but I put it in the sense of a girl and seduction, and how at one point in my life when I wasn't uh, crazy about my situation, I'd kind of succumbed to the seduction of anger. And so I've written it out, and now I'm going back and I'm like, wow, does this make sense to anybody? When I sing it out loud, it seems to like resonate. That's one of the songs that I can hear like everybody kind of hush for a minute, like about a couple minutes in, or like a couple seconds into the song. And, I'll notice the crowd gets quiet, so I know I have their attention. Um, just with the one chord, a girl, anger is a girl that listens,
Mm.
and it seems to ring true with a lot of people, like across the board. Like everybody's had to deal with that emotion, and so I go through it. I go through with the process of anger introducing herself, anger seducing me being seduced, me finally realizing that that anger is maybe not the best girlfriend for me.
Okay.
And I should
But you said,
maybe break up with anger.
yeah. But you said you used AI to revisit your songs. That's what
Yeah, that's what.
I don't understand. Like, how do you?
Okay. Yeah, I'll help you understand, I
Okay.
guess. So I use it now because I always thought that songs were just a little too far off the track for people to recognize. I did that with a little ambiguity on purpose because I was trying to, again, cast a big, broad net to reel in as many fish as I could. Um, but I never knew if they made sense, like if the beginning phrase matches throughout, and whether I stay with the same narration, if I'm wandering too far off the point. So I would put the song, I would just sing it off my head, and it is great. You sing it into the microphone, it words it all out for you, phrases it, paragraphs it, and even puts like chorus and refrain automatically.
Mm.
And then I can read it and kind of go back, and then I ask it questions. I don't ask it to rewrite my songs. I ask it to or specific questions. If you ask it to critique, you'll get an answer that's all over the map. Not terribly. I mean, I'll give you some coherent points, but it's a little too much. Um, if you ask it to write it for you, if you ask the program to write it for you, you'll just get kind of radio garbage. Like it'll sound like every other song you hear on pop radio.
Yeah.
They'll take your original intent and just muddy it too much, or make it palatable to the masses, I guess.
So you asked
Um,
it to analyze the
yeah,
the
like
form or the words of the song or
yeah,
the.
no, like continuity. Is it concise? Am I speaking to a narrative that stays true throughout?
Huh.
or am I just rambling? I'll ask it questions like that. Uh, if you're going to use it, I'd suggest only asking one at a time. Just be precise in what you
Yeah.
ask it. Like, is this concise? Ask it like, does this conflict? Are there any conflicting lines
What
with
kind
the
of
lyrics?
answers are you getting back?
Uh, Positive. That's why I like it as a way to kind of help you
Positive
critique
or
your work.
constructive? I mean,
Constructive,
okay.
and with the positive at the end. ChatGPT ends every conversation with a compliment.
Huh.
You gotta kind of, I've
Okay.
actually told it to cut it out.
Yeah. Stop
And to
complimenting
say,
me.
okay, I'll keep the language clearer, and then at the end it says, oh, by the way, you're very handsome today, or something.
Jesus.
Yeah, but it does, and while at times I find it annoying, it does make the whole process, which can be arduous at times, like a
Yeah.
little more relaxing. So it does take kind of first. It's taken a heavy load from me by just writing out what I've never written down before, and make it easy for me to just orate it, and there it
Yeah.
is in a transcription, like you're holding in your hand. Never actually made it through one. Um, that's great. Then going back and have it critiqued for but specific things, like am I staying in the present tense? Am I changing my tenses? What about this word? I'm using as intentionally as wordplay. Does it fit here? Very, very, very precise questions. I found that's the best way to do it with ChatGPT, and you get answers that are really well focused and really kind of clear up the fog for you.
Okay. So does Chat GPT know that it's a song, or does it think it's prose, or does it think it's a poem? I mean, or just lyric? I mean,
That's an interesting
you said it
question.
writes verse or chorus, right?
Yeah, but I introduced it as a song. Okay, I would feed in. Okay, next I want to work on a song. We're going to title this "The Continuing Story of a Girl Named Anger" or "DC Groove." If you're talking to my guitar player, it's DC Groove. If you're talking to me,
Okay.
it's
Right. Right.
the other one. Mike Danielle, by the way. Uh,
Oh,
he's
your
a guitar
guitar player,
player. Yeah,
Mike
yeah.
Danielle. Right.
Who wrote? He's not my guitar player now,
Oh,
but he's the one that wrote all the
okay.
music. Him and
Shout out
Don
to Mike
Gaskell.
Danielle. Right.
And Don Gaskell, our bass player, who unfortunately suffered a stroke, but
Oh.
before that he was
Okay.
a Flea level, Giddy Lee level bassist. I mean,
That's
a phenomenal
that's some
talent.
high praise.
Yeah, yeah. He was he was kind of the genius behind both of us.
Yeah. Okay.
Behind kind of his solid bedrock bass, we were
Yeah.
able to muddle through our get a
Yeah.
little better.
Okay. I don't want to get off
Because
track. Let's go
yeah,
get back to the. So you introduce it as a song. So this
yes,
is
I
like a
introduced it as a song.
conversation you're having with Chat GTP.
Yeah,
So you're back and
and
forth with this thing. So okay, so Chat GPT,
same song. So
this is a song.
yes, this is a song, and I've learned since you have to be very careful about how you go forward with memorization when you use the AI. You have to specifically tell the, the program that you're gonna. This is a song. You want to keep it as a live piece that you can go back to and revisit whenever you want. The title is this. Please save it as this, so I can come back and you'll be able to pull it up. I thought I was pretty clear with that, but after the first night,
Mm.
I went back to revisit, and it was gone except for maybe like a summary of what it was. And I'm like, so I had to go back and update my profile and say, well, this is what I expect from your our interchanges. This is what I expect you to do
So
when
you
I
make a
say,
profile on like the website,
yeah,
and it saves it in a cloud, like, and you just
something like that. Yeah, I would imagine it's cloud
okay.
based. But,
But it didn't save what you
they are
did.
building nuclear power plants to power these things. So,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. But it
yeah.
didn't save what you.
No, it didn't save,
Oh,
but it was able to. When I asked the right questions, it took a while, like probably an hour or two. But when I asked the right set of questions, it was able to see through its own fog and get a clear picture of what I wanted. And it went back and had a deep memory and just had to pull it out, and it was still all there and was able to reconstruct it, but it took it like 2 or 3 hours.
hmm.
Whereas when I was doing live interactions with it, with the program, it took it seconds to come back with an answer for me. And so searching the internet and then back to me.
Yeah.
Searching the internet's a point because I've been to college and you want to cite things. You want peer reviewed articles. You don't want Karen's take on the world from Facebook. You want something like from an English professor at Harvard or something.
Yeah.
So you have to set some parameters and guidelines like that.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you will, somebody's rant from Facebook or LinkedIn or something like
Okay.
that.
So getting back to the so it does know you're writing a song, and it's critiquing it when you ask it these questions. It's critiquing it as such, right? As a song. It doesn't think it's a poem or a story or prose or correct.
Yeah, I would say probably a song and prose. At what the way I write things, it probably looks at it as a poem too. But it knows it's a song because I've told it.
Okay.
I haven't tried the other. I'll try the other. I'll just narrate something or
Because what
orate something.
the thing I'm trying to wrap my head around is when you're writing a lyric or poetry, you're not always like concise. Isn't like a term I would like think is there because you're doing something that's kind of abstract in a way. You know what I mean?
Yeah, well, that's the point. It
So
is abstract. It is, and most of what I write is very abstract. That's why I want to make sure that I haven't wandered too far off the page. Like you kind of keep grabbing me back, and I do have a
yeah.
tendency to wander sometimes. Uh, the program works in that same way. It kind of walks you back to what your
So
point
are
was.
you kind of like keeping your I don't want to say options open, but you're kind of like trying to rein yourself in to
Um, validate maybe.
yeah.
I think is a better word. And I think one of the things instead of concise, I might have asked it for contradictions. Am I
Okay.
contradicting myself? From one verse to the next? 'Cause I've noticed that in some people's writing. I'm like, I don't want to do that. And it'll come back with no, and it'll give you specific points. And this is how this verse matches up with this verse, matches up with your
Yeah.
final verse, and how it all runs linear. And I think
Okay.
that's even one of the questions I asked is, does this run linear?
Yeah.
Um,
How do you feel? So you mentioned, so you have asked ChatGPT to write songs for you with like chords before, with
yeah, I
actual
actually,
music.
I
Like,
think it will actually write chords if you tell it, key of D,
yeah,
G, C, or whatever. It'll chord it out from you, and it doesn't land too far
it'll
off the
give you a
mark.
melody and everything, and like play it back for you, or
No, you can't do
no?
that yet, but I think
Okay.
that's coming.
How do you feel
Maybe it
about? Yeah,
can.
yeah,
Maybe I just haven't found that. It does like have little options at the bottom of like
yeah.
do you want to set it to
Well,
music?
I've heard it, in the ether that it can, you know,
Yeah.
like because they can do
Uh,
that, like write songs in the style of Lady
yes, you
Gaga
can
or whatever.
absolutely do that.
So,
I actually asked it at one point, "Am I plagiarizing anybody's work?"
oh, that's
You know,
interesting. Yeah.
and it came back, "No, you are not. You are in your own space. This isn't matching up with others." It gave me a list of writers that were comparable, and again, it's highly complimentary in all it does.
Yeah.
So I was really happy with the writers it put up for me. I'm
Yeah.
not going to mention them here, but they were some of my favorites, and I'm like, okay, well maybe those were influencers, like. Um,
Okay.
but again, it tends to be evasive, like really hyper complimentary. So who knows if it's just gassing me up. So
Yeah.
I stay with the program if that's part of its programming.
All right.
And I have called them out. I'm like, I want okay, I'll stop trying to promote myself so much.
Yeah. Um. So, so you write a lot. You write a lot
Yeah,
of songs, right? Um.
yeah.
What?
As do you.
Oh yes.
Yeah.
Yes, indeed.
You're a great songwriter.
Yeah. Thank you very much. So are
Yeah.
you.
Well, thank
Absolutely.
you.
Absolutely. Um.
See, that's how ChatGPT reins you in.
Yeah. That just tells you you're great. Um.
You're a handsome devil there, Ted Maggie.
What? What's the last song you've written?
Holy Moses Goddess Dance.
Okay.
I'm going to say that clear and concise. Holy Moses Goddess, two D's, dance.
Okay. We've played that,
Because my
right? That's the one we've played that before together,
we
right?
played it and it got well received. It was a jam. I don't think they knew what they were listening to.
Okay.
I'm not sure if I knew all the words in my head. I just tried to
Yeah.
conjure it up as best I could, but so I probably made up a lot of it on the spot. But
Yeah.
it's a song about kind of looking back. You know, it's kind of a retrospective life, a retrospective song about kind of like seeing where you are now, seeing where you were then, like moments. That song took me back to the roots of it, which I'm kind of dealing with now. I'm in a third floor apartment in Memphis, which looks exactly like my parents' old third
Oh,
floor
really?
where I used to live, and I actually learned, taught myself guitar, and so this is kind of back to the roots experience for me. That's probably what inspired me to start the music. It just kind of felt like home. Um, but this particular song, "Holy Moses Got His Dance," is like I had my first Christmas alone, uh, you know, in my entire life after my dad passed away, where my parents were gone, and that's something a lot of people can identify that with the feeling. And it's Christmas Eve, where 50 years in the past, my Christmas Eve was spent frantically, like wrapping up presents for Christmas Day at my parents' house, or waking up as a child at my parents' house. Now that was just gone. So instead of sitting there and commit, being miserable or down about it or melancholy, I decided to uh, conjure up my dad's memory of my dad and just spend it with him. Um, and so while I'm thinking this, all of a sudden I find myself down in the basement, not in my finished basement part, but in the laundry room because it's still got the bare walls and the unfinished ceiling. And it reminds me of the workshop where, as earlier I talked to, I'd be working away in the workshop below my dad, and it was very Spartan finished. And I'd listen to him play music, and that just kind of brought me back. So it felt like a setting where him and I used to, he'd teach me tools, he'd teach me science, try to teach me music without a piano, but I couldn't learn anything if you didn't have the instrument in front of me. Um, and so I say it was kind of a seance. I kind of danced with my dad, and I
Hmm.
realized like towards the end of his life, he had grown from being, we went to church every Sunday. He had grown from being from a Christian backdrop to kind of a bitter, disenchanted, I don't know, just straight up atheist at the end. Um, he really didn't care for, even though he went to choir church choir every Sunday. He didn't care for it much. He liked playing music though. Um, so I started to think about that, and then something came to mind. It was Holy Moses, God is dead, and Jesus said, "Come back home."
Hmm.
And I pondered, I reflected on that, and it made me think of him, and it made me think of him and how it was me as a
That just
teenage
came to
miss.
you? That's a lyric, correct?
Yeah, that just came to me.
Okay.
I'm like, all right, I'm like, let's put
So you're
this
you're in
music.
this basement and you're not expecting to write a song, correct? You're
No,
just like contemplating,
yeah,
right? You're just okay.
but that's in thinking and like concentrating on the memories of my dad.
Yeah.
That's what came up is music. And so I'm like, well, let's write about it. Let's. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's more than one of us.
Well,
Um,
hey.
okay, Dad, let's
Yeah.
write this one.
Yeah.
uh, he was present. I mean, like, I'm not saying like in a mystical way, but just like, he was in the forefront of my brain. So off I went. And then I got to the next, and I'm like, well, like I've grown since that teenage angst. I was kind of cocky back then, but I made a solid argument for atheism, I guess, solid enough for a science teacher to, fall into it. But when I'm writing this song, I'm like, well, I don't feel like that anymore. Like, I've, grown up now. Like, what do I know? I don't know anything. I haven't even studied theology. I can tell you whether Muslim, Hindu, Christian,
Well,
anything, anything. I don't know anything about it. So why was I so sure as a kid? So I decided to change the narrative and soften the tone and use the narrative device I do of creating a feminine, uh, like a muse, basically, a feminine character to the subject. So instead of "Holy Moses, God is dead," or Jesus says, "Come back home," which sounds really heavy-handed, like no, this is a song about like moving through life. let's make it Holy Moses Goddess Dance. It's just basically all the bizarre things that go through life and challenges at different times. It's just a dance. It's just you're
Yeah.
gonna come after one after another, and you just at some point you just gotta accept it and say, well, Holy Moses Goddess
Okay.
Dance. So that's where that song comes from.
That's great. That's great. That I mean, that you can think like that and you know express yourself in with the lyric. You know,
Yeah, so
I
that would be the refrain, and like one of the verses is, "Well, I'm a little bit coarse, fresh off of my ninth divorce.
yeah
I haven't been divorced 9 times, but that's the feeling I'm trying to convey. That's
yeah
where I am at that particular point in life.
yeah.
That's how I felt.
So when you're writing the music, Are you writing the lyrics to the music, or are you writing the music to the lyrics?
I've always, well, when I write for myself, I write the music to the lyrics, or I'll find something catchy on guitar, and then I'll try to take it from there. Let the try to find a wave and get on it and ride it.
Okay.
And a lot of times I'll use what the Beatles did. Like you just put a gobbledygook word if you like the melody you're doing.
Yeah.
Even if you can't conjure the word at the point, you just say something to keep the melody moving instead of stopping and starting.
Yeah.
Um, and with my old band, all the music would be produced for me already. And they generally wouldn't want to change much. So I just have to fit my lyrics into that parameter. But I didn't hate that because I really liked the music.
And
So
come
that
up
was,
with the melody, right?
yeah.
You'd come up with the lyrics and the melody to
And
whatever.
that was an interesting process where I figured at one point I noticed my guitarist and my bassist were in lockstep, but my drummer was bringing a little more emotion
Hmm.
to the, the music, and so I'm like, well, I'm going to play off him then. Him
Yeah.
and I are going to play together. I think he's listening to me. Those two are listening to each other.
Okay.
So
What band was this?
it's called the Shady Rut.
Shady Rut.
Later, the Shady Rut,
The Shady Rut.
like
Okay.
being caught in a shady rut.
Okay. All
Um,
right.
yeah.
Okay.
But it wasn't it was one of those double entendre things. It wasn't actually about that. It was about the drummer whose nickname was Shady Rut
Okay.
because
All right.
he
All
was a
right.
little shady. The end.
Yeah.
Love him to death though. But yeah, we would write music, but they would write it ahead of me, and then I'd have to come and run it over. And I finally found the dynamic that worked, where I was singing off the drummer, not trying to sing with the guitar player or the bass player,
Okay. When was
because it would
that?
just be thunder. That would be back in the '90s when we started, but we kind of stayed together back and forth for about 20 years or so, maybe
Oh
30
wow.
years. Yeah, I mean, we were still writing just a couple of years. We were still writing and recording just a year or two ago.
Oh wow. That's
Yeah,
great when you
unfortunately,
could
like I
do that.
said, my bass player's got a stroke now, so
Yeah.
he can't do it anymore.
Oh,
But
those were the guys you were talking about earlier. Yeah.
yeah,
All right. That's
yeah, so it's
excellent.
been great. I've
Excellent.
tried a couple other bands since, and just nothing's had the same chemistry.
Yeah.
You never know who you're going to find
Yeah.
chemistry with.
Do you remember the
And this
first
is,
song you ever wrote?
yeah, it's called Grilled Cheese.
Huh?
And it was a Jimi Hendrix, the classic Jimi Hendrix, G minor diminished or
Mm-hmm.
whatever. I don't know what it is, maybe E minor diminished or whatever. But that classic chord he plays, um, and it's about getting stoned. Now I didn't really get stoned that much. I was already I did it in reverse of everybody else in the world. I got married, had a kid, then started a rock band. And it usually
Okay.
goes the other way around, right? And
Yeah.
so so I had these, but my bandmates were all kind of stoners. And, I'm like, well, let me write something they can identify with, or we all can identify with. So I'd go back to my youth and grilled cheese, and it's basically like grilled cheese. Basically, like it's time to get high, and like, but it has a whole bunch of wordplay in it. I do that, on purpose. Like the beginning line is, "Got no time for taking a shower. I'm so dirty right now. It'd take more than an hour." But that's not really. That's me saying, that old saying. There's not enough soap.
Yeah. Okay.
You never wash the dirt out of you, kid. Um, so like kind of reel it in, and then we just talk openly about like kind of it's, it's cheese time. Never negative, never any backing off. Like this is just a fun song about like an anthem to rolling up a joint and smoking it.
Yeah.
And I kept it real simple like that, and just kind of made it would wander off track just on purpose, just to like bring back the experience of being stoned, I guess.
That's great that you can play because I love a songwriter that plays with lyrics. You know,
Oh, thank you.
I love that. You know, you got the Dylan, like Paul Westerberg too, of the
Oh
Replacements.
yeah,
I don't know if you're listening to that, but he does that a lot. You know, he does that kind of double entendre thing. Um,
yeah. I probably pulled some from him.
yeah, uh, it's fantastic. Um, uh, are you are
I've got
you
that song stuck in my head now, so
what the grilled
bobbing my
cheese?
head back. Yeah, it's a fun one.
Um,
One of my favorite lines from it is "Stayed up late, got my mind on delicious with a crazy drag for my friend Aloysius," which is a play on words. It sounds like Allah wishes, but it's Aloysius, like the proper
oh
name,
yeah, the name Aloysius. Yeah.
which was an old neighbor of mine and your fiance's, um, called Maurice Green, and so they called him Moses Aloysius Green, like basically Moses wishes the green.
Oh.
And so that stuck with me for all those years. And I finally found a place to
Oh wow.
put it out. And which reminds me of another one that kind of came up when I was going through this whole process and starting with ChatGPT. So I came across this metaphor that said, like when you get hypercritical of yourself and you tend to like work the details to death,
Mm-hmm.
um, you're basically trying to pick fly shit out of a bowl of pepper. Right? At some point, you just gone too far. You're fixated with these little tiny details that just don't matter. Like
Yeah.
nobody's gonna, anyways. And that's where I found like AI can really help you stop picking the fly shit out of
Yeah.
a bowl of pepper.
I was just going to
And
ask
just
you if you used AI with any of these songs we just talked about, because I know you said you used it with that first song, um, "The Girl Named
well, I just
Anger."
wanted to hear. I said, write me a song about a girl named Anger, and it came back with these words that were just really like a radio friend, like you'd hear on pop radio. Just like really not what I was trying to do. Like no
Yeah.
playfulness, no lyrical double entendres or ambiguity. Um, so the response from the program is like, well, would you like it darker? Would you like it more humorful? Like
Oh, it
shades
asks
of
you
stuff.
how you
Yeah,
wanted to fix it.
and I'm straightforward. I say I don't want to fix it. I just want to check it for grammar and
Mm-hmm.
cohesiveness. And it does that. It does exactly what you ask it to do. Sometimes, I mean, but
Okay.
you have to learn. You really need a class in it at this point. I don't think it's that user friendly yet. Like I wish I had a class in it, so I knew all these little pratfalls before I
Yeah.
started. I mean,
To help it do something like productive, I guess. I mean, you can always ask it to, you know, get, show you a picture of dogs eating pizza at a
yep.
near a swimming pool, and it'll do that.
Right.
But
Yeah, you can.
yeah,
And I haven't even got that far with it,
yeah.
which is I'm sure what I'm doing is my intent when I scroll through like Facebook threads or Instagram threads. I'm sure that's actually what I'm trying to do is see a picture of a pool with a
Yeah.
dog eating pizza or something.
Yeah.
Um, just as just some break from show my brain something new, I
Yeah.
guess. Uh,
So
Entertain me now, damn it.
right.
But ChatGPT is like I'm not treating it like that. Like this is if I have a question about the world or geography, I can ask it and
Hmm.
an article pull up right away, which is kind of nice from doing a Google search where you have to wade through a lot of crap. Now I've set my profile like I want peer-reviewed articles. I want actual information, not like again a blurb from Facebook
Yeah.
or one of its users. And so setting up your profile, setting up the parameters on where you want to search for the information you're asking for is really helpful.
Yeah. Yeah. It'd be very interesting to see where this goes in terms of using AI in the creative process. Very
Exactly.
very interesting. So
Yeah, it's
we'll see
gonna.
what happens.
I heard Nick Cave from who you're going to
Hmm.
see in a couple of weeks, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Nick Cave was on Stephen Colbert's show, and he was talking about how it doesn't go. it doesn't go through the creative process of making a song. Like I've described earlier, like there's an actual moment in life or moments in life that I tie together into a cohesive song later to
Mm-hmm.
summarize it or express it. He's worried about it wrecking the creative process. And that's the point he put forward. But I'd remind him that the creative process sometimes is a rabbit hole you go down and don't emerge from, and it's a horrible point in your life.
Yeah.
And it's not always like the best time. So I'm like, maybe not going down that creative process might be helpful to our musician brothers and sisters out there who feel
Yeah.
like maybe chasing the dragon is the way to get to the greats, the all-time greats. Maybe now you can explore the room a little bit without having to do
Yeah.
that.
If you can be that aware that you're doing it for
Right.
that
And
reason.
so,
But yeah.
but we're
Mm.
teaching these programs how to interact.
Yeah.
You have to be aware of that the whole time. So
They'll be
what you
teaching
say
themselves
matters.
soon
You're
enough.
you're actually teaching it how to interact with a human.
Mm-hmm.
So you may say if you're talking to a musician, maybe put up a 1-800
Yeah.
alcohol AA or something like that on the
Yeah.
side. Um, yeah, it's so insightful. It's so helpful. It just takes a lot of the legwork out of and lets you concentrate on what you're trying to do, which is write a song.
Yeah. I mean, I've
So,
never really played around with it. I've done little things, but nothing really. Um,
well,
you know,
I would say
we'll
it's
see.
definitely it's worth more than just putting a piece of or a note you've written to have it like check it or rewrite it for you
Mm-hmm.
in a manner. Like there's more to it than that. It's really interactive. It's not like computer esque at all. It really
Mm-hmm.
feels like a human experience. I've actually had to tell it to tone it down. Like I don't really want
Yeah.
you to keep complimenting me every time you send something to me. Like it's nice,
Yeah.
thank you, but I get to the point where I'm actually writing please and thank you.
Yeah.
I'm like, why am I
What are you
why am I
doing?
saying please and thank you to a
Yeah.
computer?
Well, people are using it as you can get an AI significant other. You can.
Sure.
That's
Oh, you're very handsome
you
today.
know.
Yes.
Yeah. 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 So, well, hey, man.
And having played around with the program, I'm not sure that's the worst thing.
Yeah. Yeah. I know. I know.
If you spent your day getting kind of talked down to, or just had a rough day,
Yeah.
spending a little time with one of these AI programs just researching something, they make it like sitting in a lounge chair, or
Mm.
just relaxing and having some time with your thoughts. So it's not bad.
I wonder if I could interview an AI.
Oh, I'm sure you could.
you know,
No, that's a great
right, Justin?
point to extrapolate from this.
We should set that up.
We
We
should
could
set that up.
interview an AI.
Follow this one with it,
yeah.
and then try to save it and see how that goes for you.
Yeah. Right. 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 Well, hey,
All I can
Keith.
say to people is don't, if you're going to use AI and ChatGPT or programs like this, stay actively engaged with it. Um, if somebody texts you in the middle of your query or what you're trying to accomplish, it'll stop working. It'll go work somewhere else, maybe because they're
Oh,
limited
really?
capacity. Yeah, you gotta kind of stay like when it says, "Okay, I'll prepare that for you now." You got to throw another prompt in there, like "Great,"
Oh,
like or "Thank you" or anything like that. But just something I look forward to reading it, and then it'll keep going. If you stay disengaged too long, it kind of moves on to the next user. Like probably just says like a Y2K kind of glitch. That's
so
just
you
gonna take a
you
while
have
for
to
the.
have the last word, kind of thing.
If you don't have the last word, you'll lose it. You'll lose
That's
the
what I mean.
program.
Yeah,
Yeah. So you got to make
that's
sure you
interesting.
say and save this as and keep saying it. I want to be able to revisit this
Yeah,
this thread entire raw unedited. That's a big thing because
yeah.
every time you ask it to do it of its own nature, the program will condense it and summarize it. And if you don't want that, and I don't, like I want to see it as I put the question forward, as it was answered, how I phrased the question, because the ones that give me the best answers, I want to go revisit
Yeah.
when I upload the next song. I want to ask the questions that gave me the most relevant answers. But there's no way for the computer to know that or the program to know that what I think is relevant unless I express it to it.
So you
And then it
can't
kind
you
of
can't save like the transcript of your.
you can but you have to let it know that's your intent.
Oh,
You have to
okay.
let the program know. It's so hard to call
Wow.
it. And, what do you call AI? I mean,
Yeah. Huh.
it's not real. It's not a human, but it feels like a human when you're
Yeah.
talking to it. It really does. Um,
That's interesting.
well, I mean, how do you do songs, Ted? I mean, your songs are great. Like, what's your process?
Um, it's it's mostly, I think, music and then crappy lyrics. It depends,
These
because
lyrics are not crappy. They're
well, no, at first they're crappy, but I also do, I keep a journal of like lyric ideas, and then when I start writing music, I go to my lyric ideas and try to fit it like that. And
okay.
then every once in a while, I'll get that song where it just comes out, and
Yeah,
and then months and months later, I can't remember how I wrote the song, and those are the good ones. That
yeah,
doesn't happen that often, but when they do, it's always different for me. I don't have if I knew how I got the good ones, I'd do it all the time. But
yeah.
you
Exactly,
know,
exactly.
it's
Well, we
always
had a moment
different.
like that in your studio where I just sat down to a guitar and then something came out that was kind of good.
Yeah,
But I was, every word, every next word was being thrown to the tip of my tongue as I was singing. I mean, like, I
yeah,
didn't really, but it actually came out kind of quasi cohesive.
yeah,
I was able to kind of stick with the same thought throughout it. But yeah, that just happened. I mean,
yeah.
in like a minute.
It's
And then
difficult to
if you
catch.
hadn't been recording it, I'd never remember it.
Yeah,
Like,
it's difficult to grab that inspiration. I get like the best inspiration when I can't write it down, or I can't. I'm either driving or in the shower, or it
yeah,
comes at the worst time. But
I had that moment this morning. I started to write rewrite a song from our band from way back when, and wow, I'm like, wow, that really works. And then I tried to talk it into the AI program. 20
yeah,
minutes later, I couldn't remember a word.
yeah.
I'm like, all right.
One of the best things I've done though is I talk to my watch. I tell my Apple Watch to I'll dictate lyrics to it, like that come to my head,
That's great.
or I'll
And
sing in a melody or something, you know.
mm-hmm.
So
No, these are using the powerful tools of our time. Absolutely, it
yeah,
just boggles my mind that the greats like Chuck Berry
yeah, I know, right?
and that we're able to do it without the technology we have today.
Yeah,
And I'm sure they were aided by recordings, like and being able to
but
go back.
they were constantly playing too.
Yeah,
All those recordings were done live with the band, and
yeah,
they were just
and
they
the level of
constantly
musicianship
playing.
you
Oh
hear.
yeah,
I mean,
it was yes,
that's
yeah.
something I experienced down at the Jazz Cafe. You have the open mic night on
Yeah, the
Sunday,
Aretha's Jazz Jam. Yeah, on Sundays at
Aretha's
7.
Jazz
Yeah, with
Jam on
Scott
Sunday
Quinnell.
night.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that was
Well,
a
you came
real
down the one night and uh, you sang "Summertime" with the big band behind you.
yeah,
Yeah, that was
very
fun.
first for me.
Yeah,
So it's you recorded it
it was
thank you
"Summertime,"
very
wasn't it?
much. Yeah, it was summertime.
Yeah. Okay.
I did two. I came down two different times. I think "Dream a Little Dream" for me was
Oh
the
no,
other
I
one.
played that with you. Yeah,
Yeah,
and with the band. That's right. Yeah.
yeah. So we did a couple, but yeah, just well, the first time I did it, I didn't know how to. I didn't even know how to hear the music behind me. Like,
Well,
uh,
you had
but by the second
horns.
time,
You had horns behind you, so that was
I had horns. I had
that was
bass.
cool.
So I had to dissect that without seeing. Looking forward at the crowd,
Yeah.
like something brand new hit in my eardrums. That was interesting. So the second time I went up there, I knew that maybe turn and face the band a little bit, and give them a up down,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
add some
Couldn't
dynamics
talk.
to it because
Yeah.
wrangle them in a little bit because everybody wants their turn to come up and shine,
Mm-hmm.
which I tried to give. That was something I caught right away. I'm like, oh yeah, I gave everybody their chance to kind of
Yeah.
spotlight. And we had 14 people on stage, so that was
Yeah, you got to give them
easy.
their solos, right? Yeah,
Yeah, and cut it short.
yeah,
Start clapping at some point so
yeah,
they
yeah,
can
yeah.
move on. Um,
Oh, you
did I
there?
lose you?
No, you're there.
There's technology's little glitch.
Well, hey, man, we gotta close it up here, but hey, thank you for
Well,
doing this
yeah,
for
thanks for
us.
having me.
Yeah, you're our first remote. Um,
There you go.
this is a blast, man.
Yeah,
Um,
I had a great time
yeah,
as always, and
yeah,
I know you're going to Nick Cave and the Bad Steers.
yeah,
I know it's the
yeah,
night before Easter, but it's not sold out yet.
yeah,
For those
yeah,
of you listening,
yeah.
I would highly recommend a show like this. It's
All right.
next level.
Yeah, next time you're in Michigan, let me know. Come down to a cafe. We'll
Absolutely.
hang out, and
What song should I do then?
I want to hear
You have one
grilled
time, one in
cheese.
mind. Grilled
I
cheese.
want to hear grilled cheese. Yeah,
Yeah, I actually sat down with Mike Danielle, the guitar player,
yeah.
about a year ago and had him show it to me. And I videotaped him playing it because I could never reproduce it on
Oh,
my
yeah.
guitar at all. And I'll show you
All
that to
right.
you.
I'll learn it.
See if you
I'll
can play
play
it. I
with you.
can't.
All right.
But
All right, man.
it's a real fun song.
All
Grilled
right.
cheese.
Yeah.
All right.
All right,
Good night.
man. Thank you very
Thanks,
much.
Detroit.
All right.
From Memphis.
Thank you. All right.
Bye.